Someone put my phone number in a bad group, and then random strangers began calling and sending me obscene pictures. I received many messages in WhatsApp from unknown numbers and had to block about 20 contacts. Finally, I reported to nearby police station.
India has one of the world's largest number of internet users at over 600 million. It has one of the largest and fastest growing presence on various social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter. This means all users are also increasingly being exposed to cybercrimes in various forms. What then is gender-based cyber violence? Are women and girls facing more risk of cyber violence?
You are very correct there that when you say that women and girls are more likely to be the victims, and that's true if you look at global data. Wherever we have data from, that's very true. In fact, if you look at some of the cyber crimes like cyber stalking and cyber harassment, people call them gender specific crimes because women and girls are more likely to encounter them as compared to men and boys.
It's really hard to get numbers on the rise in cyber violence because not all countries track it in the same way. So this makes it difficult to compare and aggregate data. But what we can say is that the reports that we're getting show that during the pandemic, there was actually a substantial increase in cyber violence, which is not surprising given that most people entered a digital world and were online during the pandemic and doing most of their work online during the pandemic.
Every year, National Crimes Record Bureau brings out Crime in India, the National Report on Crime Statistics. According to this report, while overall cybercrimes in the country showed steep rise over recent years, overall cybercrimes against women are also rising fast.
So the most common cybercrime is online harassment. The second aspect is obviously online fraud. So in online harassment, the most common crimes are where their photographs are taken out from their social media presence and it is misused to create a fake profile. And using this fake profile, the perpetrators, what they do is they post indecent comments or something which is derogatory, harmful to the victims. The second common crime is where their photographs are edited and morphed and some offensive photograph is generated out of it and it is then posted on online platforms to harass them. Another very common crime is where their contact information, their phone number, their email addresses, these are shared on platforms which indulge in offensive contents, for instance pornographic sites, escort services, dating applications, and while doing so, these perpetrators, what they do is that they also enclose messages, for instance call me on this number or send me a mail and I will respond, and this kind of things. So these are the common cyber crimes. In addition to that, women also become victim to frauds where they are specifically targeted. For instance, matrimonial frauds, job frauds, where they are specifically looking for women employees. For instance, airlines, in the hospitality industry, and things like that.
Cyber violence is not always restricted to cyber world. They can have extension to physical world as well.
A lot of women don't even realize that a lot of the stalking of women starts online. So it may be on online matrimonial platforms, social media platforms, and then it moves on to the physical world setting.
Cyberbullying is repeated behavior aimed at scaring, angering, or shaming someone through digital devices and can occur over social media, in chat rooms, and on gaming platforms.
Many times people find it hard to kind of demarcate bullying from, for example, a neutral comment or possibly a joke that somebody has made against you. But when it comes to bullying, it's the underlying principle is that it is very individual specific. So if you read a comment about yourself and you feel that it's not just a joke, but it is something that people are kind of laughing at you rather than laughing with you on, it's that kind of a comment, then probably it's bullying that you are being faced with. Second, if you don't like it and you have clearly told the person not to repeat it, and if it is being repeated, clearly it's bullying. When it comes to the online platforms, if you're not comfortable with the kind of audience that is reading that comment or that statement about you, then again it's an indication that it's probably bullying. It's probably intended to kind of intimidate you or threaten you in some way. So these are some indicators that can tell somebody that what you are reading about yourself is amounting to bullying.
Celebrities often become soft targets for cyberbullies and trolls. Award-winning singer Neha Bhasin received death threats from fans of a pop music group after she put out her opinion on social media.
बहुत ही ख़तरनाक तरीके की हुई है। मुझे रेप थ्रेट्स दिए गए हैं। मुझे कहा गया है कि मुझे सूली से अपनी खुद की आत्महत्या कर लेनी चाहिए, पंखे से अपने आप को टांग के। मेरी मदर को बुली किया गया। मेरी फादर जो गुजर गए 2 साल पहले, उनके पोस्ट के अंडर गालियाँ दी गई। मेरे हस्बैंड को बोला गया कि मेरा मुंह बंद कर दिया जाए। मेरे मैनेजर को मैसेजेस दी गए। ऐसा हो रहा है कि हम नंब होते जा रहे हैं। हम ऐसे होते जा रहे हैं कि हमारे आपे से बाहर जा रही है चीज़। हमारे काबू में कुछ नहीं है। बहुत ही एक मेरे लिए पेनफुल टाइम था, और एक ऐसा टाइम था जब आप सोचते हैं कि ये दुनिया में एग्जैक्टली क्या हो रहा है। ऐसी हद आ गई थी कि मुझे साइबर कंप्लेन करनी पड़ी, कि मुझे साइबर पुलिस के पास जाना पड़ा।
Civil society at large still tends to believe that cyber violence is restricted to the virtual world. What they forget is that the implications are very real. The distress, anger, anxiety, and depression that victims face are quite often more than when faced with violence in the physical world.
One may start challenging one's own approach, whether there was something wrong that I did that led to this. There can be even feelings of self-blame, which should not be there in the first place. One might feel even guilty that why did I use this platform? But that's where it starts. It can escalate and even turn into what we call as syndromal psychiatric disorders. One may undergo anxiety, one may experience depressive symptoms, depressive episode. There can be traumatic recollections of the event, depending on what kind of experience you have been through. And it can be a source of constant worry for you. It might impact your access to online activities later on in your life. You might be apprehensive all the time. You might feel being judged by the others for a mistake that is not yours, for an action that is of somebody else's. It has also been reported that the victims of these cyber crimes, they might resort to some unhealthy coping strategies. For example, use of alcohol. They may start even using substances such as drugs to kind of overcome this feeling of distress that they are experiencing. So we can observe whole plethora of adverse mental health consequences if you have been a victim of cybercrime.
Cyber violence, like other forms of violence, prevents women and girls from playing their rightful role in the world. Because if a woman is upset or psychologically insecure, obviously it is going to make a difference in her capacity to be productive and to contribute to society. So I think it actually has a very deep, profound, but yet not very well understood impact on women and society. And so a lot more research and work is needed to make the case for why this is bad, not just for the woman, but for her community, her family, and for the country.
In today's times, when being in the cyber world has become more of a necessity than an option, how can we ensure safety? As always, prevention is better than cure.
Regularly update the privacy settings. If you just do a raise of hands of 100 people in a room saying that how many people have gone and changed their privacy settings, the numbers are increasing in the last few years. At least in the last 5 years, I've seen these numbers. People at least go change the default settings, all of that. But I don't know whether we actually use all the sort of settings that these social media service providers give. Facebook privacy settings, Twitter privacy settings has evolved in the last 10 years that I've seen phenomenally where I can get a lot of control of information that I want. But am I using it? Do I know it? Is the challenge? Or is it enough also? I think there's a third question is that, oh, they're making all this, but is that enough, right? Control people who can comment, tag, mention, who can comment on your posts. Control on the content. Facebook even has this feature of you can even control the words in which the comment can be done. Facebook also has this feature called lists, where you can actually create, for example, I can create my undergraduate friends, my graduate school friends, my professional family list like this, and I can do post only to them.
Limit sharing your information, photos, and videos to your trusted circle of family and friends. Never capture private, intimate moments in camera. Verify credentials of those you meet online. Change your passwords periodically. Use your own internet connection instead of shared connections that can be accessed by strangers too. You should check your phone and computer and remove any applications not installed by yourself.
There are also multiple applications which you yourself are downloading on your cell phone, and they're collecting all your personal data, which includes all the videos and photographs from your phones.
Someone created a fake account with a fake name on Facebook, but with my pictures. I was forced to report the account.
What accounts for this huge surge in cyber violence against women? Experts have different opinion. The number of women accessing internet and social media are increasing day by day. So is the chance of violent encounters online. Societal acceptance for movements like Me Too have encouraged many women to come forward and report instances of cyber violence. Patriarchal values upheld by many in the cyberspace, combined with features of internet like perception of anonymity, ease of use, extensive and rapid reach, are also reasons why cybercrimes against women are surging ahead.
If you look at the literature, and something that is even more concerning is that there are lots of academics and researchers who are kind of putting forth this hypothesis that it might be something that's being seen as something that is part of the online platforms, something that we can call that there is a naturalization that's happening. So, and that's the most scary part of it. So are we moving in that direction where people are somehow assuming that this platform can be used for these purposes as well?
There is a sense when it happens in for young girls by people their age to say, oh, that's just a boy being a boy. So there is a tendency in society to downplay the impact of the seriousness of this kind of violence.
I don't think a lot of people are aware of these increasing crimes. Parents are aware, that's why they're not able to really educate their children. A lot of women are not aware about these offenses. Again, they don't even know that there is legal recourse available. So I would say there's a lot of illiteracy in the space of cyber crimes and cyber laws with respect to the general Indian population. Definitely cyberbullying, trolling, all these are offences under the Indian Penal Code and the Information Technology Act, and any person who's a victim of the same should file an FIR and let the legal recourse take place thereafter.
The good thing about any cybercrime, as far as law enforcement is concerned, is that it leaves a footprint. So it leaves a digital footprint, it leaves a money trail, that footprint of the money trail that goes if it is a fraud. So, and it is captured, it is well documented in all the stakeholders who are involved in the transaction. So if it is online harassment on a social media platform, definitely the internet service provider has your credentials, the IP logs, the OTT, the over-the-top platform. For instance, if it is Facebook, Facebook will capture your IP, Facebook has details of your profile when it was created, the email ID associated with that. If it is a phone number which has been used for verification, that phone number is there. So all these details are there. If it is a fraud, then it involves the digital transaction, how it moved from one account to another, the final beneficiary, how it was taken out. We may have CCTV footage of the ATM machine from which it was withdrawn. So that kind of details are available with us. But at the same time, either it could be the harasser or it could be the fraudster. Both are taking measures, are using tools through which they can anonymize themselves. So by using technology, we are able to overcome these difficulties and identify the victim, have sufficient evidence against them, and punish them.
Once my account was hacked and awkward, and recently someone sent me an obscene video on Facebook. So now I have no social media accounts. To some extent, social media is very useful, but because of this kind of misuse, I quit.
Deactivating social media account may seem trivial. However, this pushes women and girls outside digital spaces. Everyone has a right to feeling safe and free in public, private and digital spaces.
That is a real pity that cyberbullying and cyber violence may be restricting the access that women have to the online world, because if there is one thing that the pandemic has shown us is that the world is digital, and that actually it is going to be impossible to survive in the formal economy without being online and without being digital. So I don't think there is actually any choice. Everybody has to learn to live and operate in the digital space. And so to women who are feeling threatened or intimidated by what is happening when they're online, my message would be very simple but very clear. Do not let those bullies and do not let that violence get to you. Report it, seek help, seek support, but get back online, because your life post-pandemic and during the pandemic is definitely digital.
First and foremost thing to do is to document the incident that you experienced through screenshots or screen recordings. Delaying to report affects the fate of your complaint, so timely reporting with all details is very crucial. You can report to the platform where the incident has occurred. By doing so, you can ensure that digital platforms become more secure both for you and all other users as well.
All of these companies have also evolved. So let's take one by one social network, right? Let's take if you look at the example of Facebook, you go say that report this as spam or report this as, there are many categories. Each of these social media services, if you go to a YouTube video, they've done an exhaustive list of why you are reporting, very, very detailed, which is, so it's actually pornography, it's actually child pornography, it's abusing women. Heavy level of work has been done in finding that categorization of how to put it. So once you do this, there are multiple things that are happening. For example, in Facebook, the process generally done is that, let's take if 10 people report it, I think it's going to be hard for anybody to spend time, efforts on, let's take making a decision. But there have been incidents in Facebook also as a process that if that number is very high, let's take at some point in time it was a few thousands, right? If that number is happening in few thousands and in a certain time span, human in the loop will come. There are actually experts who will look at it and then say that the content that is generated, reported is actually against the terms and conditions of our companies. But definitely all companies are doing something or the other. How much they are doing enough? Are they doing satisfactory enough for every user in the country, every sort of say organization in the country? That's a question. But are they doing? I think they're definitely doing.
You can also choose to file a police complaint. Ministry of Home Affairs has a national reporting portal, cybercrime.gov.in. You can file complaints from anywhere in the country using just your mobile number. There is also the facility to report cybercrimes anonymously. Under the category of crimes against women and children, you can report child pornography, rape content, sexually obscene material, and material containing sexually explicit act in electronic form. Under the second category of report other cybercrime, you can report social media related crimes such as cyberbullying, stalking, sexting, fake profile, online matrimonial fraud, as well as hacking and online financial frauds.
I was replying to a video about a female-centric movie and made a very gentle comment about the heroine, for which a guy had a very vulgar response, shaming and character assassination. I feel when a girl speaks for herself, according to some people, the most ridiculous way to counter her facts is to degrade her character.
There needs to be a shift in attitudes, and there needs to be a cultural change so that this is widely discussed, better understood, and actually it is something that we actively work against by starting to teach children at home about the importance of respect on the internet, and also talking in schools and in colleges and universities about what are standards of conduct online. So, we must aspire to uphold the highest possible standards of conduct and behavior on the internet, exactly as if it were a physical room. If we would not say something to somebody to their face, why would we say it to them online?
Being aware and something which is there at the back of your mind always are two different things. So we know that sharing information or sharing personal photographs can be harmful, but it is not in our active consciousness. It's like when you're crossing the road, you always see on your left, on your right for any crossing vehicle, and it has been there as part of our consciousness from the very beginning since we were children. So when our parents escorted us across the road, they always told us to do this. So that kind of sensitization is needed, and which can happen by reinforcing it again and again through all possible means. So our job is actually to use all possible mediums and reinforce these sensitivities amongst the people through the most creative channels available to us. Only by reinforcement, by repeatedly giving this message to all the vulnerable sections, I think this message will be communicated, and they will be sensitive enough to not to indulge in such things even on an instinctive basis.
Please cyber reporting kare. I think as a culture we need to stand up against cyberbullying, against cybercrime. कोई भी आपको स्लट शेमिंग नहीं कर सकता, आपको गंदी बातें नहीं बोल सकता, अपनी खुद के शरीर की नंगी पिक्चरें नहीं भेज सकता. People cannot do that, and I really hope that all of us together can fight against this and not just ignore it all the time. इसको normalize ना करा जाए और समझा जाए कि साइबर क्राइम जो है वो एक बहुत ही सीरियस क्राइम है.
Neha has courageously fought a battle with cyberbullies. The experience has not stopped her. Rather, she is using her music to challenge bullies and trolls. Countless other nameless women are also fighting their own battles against cyber violence. Let's lend them our support and work to make cyberspaces safe for women. Because after all, women's rights are human rights.